I wanted to be a cool kid and wanted to be part of these crews. And so I was moved through the drugs.
Dude, if you want to do something, surround yourself around people doing that thing, and it's going to rub off on you.
Yeah, it's exactly what life is people, places, and things. Whoever you surround yourself with.
Hearing that from you, I'm just like, yeah, man, so impactful. What are some of the things that maybe you didn't expect to learn?
But if they're not all willing or are helping you out and pulling you up, then that's not the right community. I'm just going to keep doing the Lord's work, and wherever it takes it, man, it's fine with me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Diehard Entrepreneur Stories. I am Devin Ramos, your host. And today, man, oh man, do I have an episode for you. If you are the type of person that has learned or is in the process of learning the importance of who you surround yourself with, you're going to want to stay tuned. That was the biggest lesson that I personally took away from this guest. His name is Anthony Autry. He is the founder of Unchained Fit, and he is coaching men all over the world right now, taking them through a program that he developed while he was in federal prison. He's got an amazing story of resilience, and he talks about how from the earliest age up until 36 years old, he had been in and out of trouble, in jail, in prison, and how he attributed that to the people that he surrounded himself with. Now he's in a much better place, just absolutely crushing it. And he draws an amazing contrast by showing us inside what his life looks like now, and telling us about some of the people he's hanging out with and starting to surround himself with, and really where he's headed into the future. So if you're struggling right now and you are trying to break down those beliefs on how important it is to surround yourself with people that are trying to do the things that you are trying to do, or better yet, have done the things you're trying to do and live life to the standards that you want to live, then you're going to want to stick around. You're going to want to listen in for this hard-hitting episode. So, without further ado, here's Anthony.
Ooh, man, I think that's just about the best intro I've had so far, man. That was great. Let's go.
Love it, dude. Well, man, you got an amazing story, dude. And
thanks.
Shoot, dude, man, what really stood out to me is you're talking about this, because I heard it. I listened to a few different podcasts you've done. Is I heard it through these different lenses. What always stood out to me was your leadership, or your desire to be a leader, dude. So that one hit me hard. And as you know, it's a huge part of being an entrepreneur, man, and running a business, whether that's, solopreneur or running a team,
Absolutely. 100%, man. I appreciate you recognizing that. And it took me a while to recognize it myself. I found myself in different situations in life where I was actually leading men, and it didn't really kind of occur to me until after the fact. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually what I'm already doing, So.
Right. Yeah. And it clearly naturally fulfilled you because you kept doing it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's turned into just a great honor that I have today to be able to just play the position that I have. I mean, I'm just extremely grateful for it. And the fact of with the kind of guys that I get to work with today is just super humbling as well,
Yeah, for sure, dude. Well, cool. Well, I can't wait to dig into the entrepreneurship side of your story. But first, let's dig a little bit into your background, man. If you would, for our listeners, share, sort of your story, like how you grew up, what really, from your perspective, shifted and changed and sent you down this road where, you were, battled with addiction. You were, LAPD's most wanted, sort of in and out of jail and stuff like that. And yeah, man, if you would just share that, please.
Absolutely. So born and raised, actually grew up, was born in the Palisades, Pacific Palisades, that just had that tragic event happen recently. And so it was a good upper middle class upbringing. We did all the typical things to family vacations, snow skiing trips, water skiing. Played a lot of sports. Actually got into, my dad is big in martial arts, so I actually started martial arts like 3.5. Had me throwing knives, butter knives, kitchen butter knives down a hallway at like 3.5 into like a little styrofoam target. It was pretty cool. And so real typical upbringing. Never saw my parents argue or fight. Unfortunately, then at 7 years old, Christmas Eve, they came into my room, told me they were getting a divorce. And so caught me off guard. Actually, I was told that I laughed at them when this happened. I don't recall laughing at them, but yeah, sure enough, next morning, unfortunately, Dad was gone. There was a lot of financial issues going on at that time. He owned a construction company, and there was a big kind of crash in the early 90s. And so some houses were on the market that got taken over by the bank, and it was just a real tough time for the relationship. I know my parents were just doing the best that they could, making the best decisions they could at the time. So I have a younger brother who's a few years younger. So it was a real shell shock just the next Christmas morning, being there to support my mom and having my brother there. It was real awakening, kind of being the man of the house at an early age. Shortly after that, within those next few years, I started getting I got into trouble one time. I think it was just kind of a random act of a kid being a kid, and was told that, it's, his parents are going through a divorce, it's okay. And I was like, ooh, I got the get out of jail free card,
dude. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So,
jeez.
So I kind of took that and ran with it a little bit. I'm sure I was probably acting out I was acting out as well. But started getting kicked out of schools, was going to private schools. Then once the private schools ran out, started going to public schools. And that point in time, started hanging out with some kids that were like the cool kids. And they were doing things. So by like 10 years old, a lot of these kids, they had older siblings, and they were all smoking weed and drinking alcohol. So I got into that at like 10 years old, and quickly progressed. Got into pharmaceuticals, hallucinogenics, and then even cocaine within my early teenage years. I had stayed away from meth and heroin because the friends that I had, their older siblings, there was a few kids that passed away in the Palisades from like heroin overdoses at like 18 years old. So stayed within the realms of those drugs, was still playing sports, was, I guess, a functioning addict at an early age. Got involved. I was in the Boy Scouts from an early age, which I did actually eventually graduate from, got my Eagle Scout. And, so all things that had, if it had gone correct, I would have gone that route and continued and probably joined the military and everything. But life, God had a different testimony for me. So moved through the drugs, got through high school. Around high school time, a lot of my friends I was still then socializing with some kids. We were getting into a little bit of trouble, but then around high school time, I was playing sports, was playing football, was doing pretty well in football. Chose not to play my senior year because the coach wanted me to play a certain position that I didn't want to play. And so I thought it would be the best idea that I just didn't play. So that's another thing that was a great idea. But friends had some friends from the inner city neighborhood, like mid-city LA, close to the Rampart district. Right around that time, they had the big Rampart scandal going on with the police there. So I had a few buddies that started gang banging, were from neighborhoods. And back then, in the late 90s, it was pretty active, as they would say. So guys were being brought up on murder charges, all sorts of stuff. And me having the upbringing that I had, I was like, whoa, like all of a sudden now I'm a part of something. Like I wanted to be a cool kid and wanted to be part of these crews, these cliques. And now all of a sudden I was like caught up, in it. Graduated high school, got my diploma, then did the geographical change, went to Arizona to go to school, but I took myself and my bad habits with me and was not going to school. And so did that for about 2 years and then made another geographical change, went to Austin, Texas, to go to school. Didn't quite still do the school thing, but I started working for a sales company. It was a fundraising company. And within a few weeks, was brought into management. Went from managing a section of the office to ended up running the whole office. Brought it to being, there was like 53 offices nationwide. I ended up bringing it from one of the bottom offices to one of the top earning offices in the country, which was pretty sweet. Was there for a few years. At that point in time, I was going to come back. They were going to open an office in Los Angeles. And so I was like, okay, cool, let's do that. Right around the time of the move, the company was out of Jersey, a bunch of Jersey guys. And so they were going to give the LA office to one of their cousins or something. And they wanted me to go to Modesto, California. Wasn't trying to go to Modesto. So went to San Diego. My brother had started a construction company. And so I jumped on board with him to kind of help the construction company grow. And things started going really well. We got into, my father actually was working at the time. He was a superintendent on a house, some investment developing in Bel Air, Brentwood area, some custom spec houses. So real top of the line stuff. And we started killing it, started working on all these different homes up there. I think the smallest one was like 9,000 square feet. The largest one was like 19,000 square feet. We were doing a lot of decorative hardscape, pools, tile work, exterior, interior, and making a lot of money and also partying pretty hard, my brother and I. Heavy cocaine use at that point in time led to where he started having heart complications from it. But we were just, always going to Vegas, or we were in San Diego doing the pool party thing, VIP and all that stuff. It was out of control. I wish I had some of the money we spent from back then, but so that went there. And then actually I was 26 and ended up getting in trouble for the first time. Started dating a girl that I knew from high school. She turned out to be not all there, I guess. She was also an alcoholic, and she attacked me one night. And long story short, I ended up taking a deal because I had no experience in the judicial system, and which gave me a record. What I know today, I should have taken that to trial. That would have been dropped. It was a ridiculous case, but that got me into the system. And me and my brother kind of went our separate ways a little bit. Then at 30 years old, I had the great idea to start smoking methamphetamine. I was hanging around a couple of guys that were doing that, and then the whole thing went sideways. Before you knew it, I was out of a job. I was out of a home. And that's when the real, within a few months, I ended up coming to a conclusion that I was on LAPD's Pacific Division's most wanted list. And led to a lot of, what do you call it? Chases, high speed pursuits, foot pursuits, all sorts of madness. A lot of crazy stories in there. And then it all kind of came to, I was incarcerated during one of these cycles where I would get locked up, be out. While I was incarcerated one time, I got a call that I was notified to call home. And so called home and found out that my brother had been murdered. One of our employees that worked for us as supervisor, they had a quarrel, egos got involved, and the guy just pulled up to the house, got out and started firing a bunch of bullets at him. Brother died that day. I was released about a year and a half after that, went to San Diego to be close to my mom. Shortly after, though, found myself back in my addiction. Same thing went on in San Diego as it did in LA, turned into a movie scene, just, creating a bunch of trouble. And then October 5th, 2018, got in a high-speed pursuit, got arrested, and that's my sobriety date. So I had a real break down and surrendered with God during that time.
Literal come to Jesus moment.
A literal, yeah. And he told me, he was like, I have something better for you. And I was like,
good, dude.
I was like, okay, let's run it. God pulled some magic, and the judge offered me a program, which I should have been looking at prison time. So of course I was interested in taking the program, took the program, started getting clean, had about a year clean. And then that's when the U.S. Marshals showed up. So they had a federal warrant for me of something that I had done a few years prior in my past. So took accountability for it, did a bunch of federal time, but I had done a lot of time before. And so I knew how to program. I knew how to run a good routine. I knew that I could focus on myself and just not waste that time. So got in great physical shape, counted my macros, all longhand, pen and paper, with the formulas, and got under 10% body fat. I got a college degree through correspondence in there. Took some other CBT classes. And when I came out, I just hit the ground running.
Just going. Dude. Wow. Incredible story, man. So much there to unpack. As you're talking about it, man, one of the things that I kept hearing from you initially when you were talking about like being in and out of trouble and sort of like your life taking a turn one way or another was you were saying, I started hanging out with this person or that person, or I started running with this crew, or, talking about these people you want to surround yourself with. And that really stuck out to me because, that's one thing that I really started hearing from other entrepreneurs, way ahead of me, more recently, especially this year. It's like, dude, if you want to do something, surround yourself around people doing that thing. And, it's going to rub off on you. And that's sort of like what I'm hearing, slightly, different situation, but that's what I'm hearing from you, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. On the negative side, for sure. 100%, it's all about people, places, and things. It's a huge thing they talk about in recovery. But it's exactly what life is people, places, and things. Whoever you surround yourself with, the places you go, the things you're doing are what you're going to become. It's like my father always told me, look at who you surround yourself with. That's what you're going to be like. So lesson learned on the bad side. And now today I just, it's funny because I put out a reel this morning, talking about that, talking about telling kids that they need to stop drinking and smoking. And if they really want to be successful, start hanging around successful people. Those people will reach their hand down, help pull them up. And, your network is your net worth 100%.
Dude, absolutely, man. And, I know from your perspective, there's a negative side to it, 100% understand, but how much more impactful is that lesson for you having lived it on that side? You know what I'm saying? Because I see people all the time, even me, like bought in at different levels. Like, man, I've heard that for years. You're the top 5, combination of top 5 people you hang around, blah, 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 blah. But the more I talk to people like you, the more I put myself in situations within proximity of people doing things I want to do. And then all of a sudden I'm doing those things. I'm just like a bigger believer in it. And yeah, man, it just kind of blows my mind. Like sitting there listening to you talk and like hearing that from you. I'm just like, yeah, man, so impactful.
Yeah, we really can do whatever we want in life. Whatever we start putting our energy towards, and sure enough, we'll eventually find ourselves there. I'm grateful for the testimony that I have today because I'm able to reach a lot of people with it. Addiction, for example, doesn't discriminate. I think everybody out there knows somebody, if they haven't struggled with it themselves, or has somebody within their family or loved ones that struggled with it. So it's a relatable story. And I always wondered why, my life was so, I know that I was causing all of these issues and it was my decisions I made, but I'd always wondered why life was so tough and I was going through all these challenges and adversity. But I just I know today that it was God just building me to be the person that I need to be today in order for me to do what I'm doing today and helping all these other guys level up in life and, be the best version of a man they can be for themselves and their family.
Oh, dude. Yeah, absolutely, man. And your testimony is so impactful because of the depth of it and because of all the negative I guess you could say, right? Like all the adversity, like everything you had to go through, man. Crazy.
Thank you, man. I'm grateful today. I'm in good health. I'm probably in the best shape of my life at 42. I'm a little banged up. I've got some, battle scars and stuff like that, but for the most part, I'm pretty healthy. So I'm just, I'm grateful and looking forward to the future,
Well, I love it, man. And so right now you are spending a majority of your time building Unchained Fit. Tell me a little bit about that.
I started when I was released from federal prison. I just was running the same kind of program I ran in there. It was just very structured, very disciplined, early wake up time, going to the gym before work, after work, going to jujitsu, and then going home and just repeating the process. So about 8 months of doing this pretty solid, I finally met somebody that I started socializing with from the jiu-jitsu gym. He was a young entrepreneur, 36 years old, owns 3 businesses, very successful. And I was like, okay, this is somebody that I can talk to. This isn't, one of these. And so we started talking, and he informed me, because I'd never been on social media. I'd been on Facebook, was never on Instagram or anything. And he was telling me that there's guys that are online, because I came out with also the mindset of wanting to be of service. I wanted to give back. If I could try and help some kids from going down the same road I went down, it'd be all worth it. So he had kind of put all that together, told me about being online. And so I checked it out, and, I'd always wanted to do, I wasn't ever really sure. I never really had something I wanted to do, like for my career or my future. Was always kind of something I was pushed into. And so I saw this as being an opportunity, and I just jumped right in and started sending it, man.
Dude, I love it. So on the social media piece, let me back up a little bit. What year did you get out this most recent time?
So was released July 12th, 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had 4 months halfway house that's mandatory. And so within 3 weeks, I got home confinement, which is house arrest or the ankle monitor. Usually it takes guys months to get that, but I just did what I was supposed to do. I just would talk to my case manager. She's like, hey, you got to do this. Okay, I do that. You got to do this. Okay, I did that. Just followed protocol. And within 3 weeks, I was able to be at my family's house with an ankle monitor, which allowed me to still go to work, go to the gym, but I wasn't staying at a halfway house where the first night I arrived there, some guy had overdosed in the bathroom that night. And then I was told even 2 weeks prior, some guy died in the bathroom. And so, it was just not a very good place to be. So got the home confinement, did really well with that. 4 months went by, that terminated, and then started supervised probation with the federal probation department, where I had to start at the bottom, most restrictive phase. I would have to call every night to see if I had to go in and test the next morning. So I did that for a few months, all clean tests. I don't do anything. So then I started having more leeway. They started seeing how I operated and went to just okay, we'll just call you whenever we need you to come check in. Okay, great. That progressed as well. And then just recently, about maybe 4 months ago, I was told by my probation officer, hey, we're good. You're good. If you want to go ahead and file for early termination, you can do so. I was like, Roger that. So, which was really ahead of the time. I had 3 years federal probation. Usually guys will get early termination at 2 years. I was just a year and a few months. So I was way ahead of schedule. So far ahead of schedule, actually, that the defense attorney, he was like, hey, we need to wait a couple of months, so you have more time on supervised release. Okay. So, but the AUSA, the prosecution, they were cool with it. Judge was cool with it. So I actually just got my federal probation terminated early. Now I'm working on my expungement process so I can get my civil rights back. And so I've started compiling character recommendation letters that I've got from some real heavy hitters, man. Guys that are within my network and guys that I consider friends today, range from Jason Redman. He is Jason Redman SEAL team. He wrote me. He's a friend of mine now. He wrote me a solid letter. Cody Alford wrote me a solid letter. A bunch of top tier military guys that are highly decorated. Some GBs.
The new crew.
Bro, even guys in 3-letter agencies have written me letters. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
Yeah. So, we'll see where it goes. I'm just super grateful, man. So life's just completely different today.
Yeah, man. I can see that. Oh, I love it. So when you were going through, like the process, getting ready to get out, is that when you were like, man, I think I could start a business or run this program, or like, how did, what was really, the point where you were like, yeah, man, like this is what I'm going to do, as opposed to, because here's what I'm thinking in my head, right? I know it's important, when you're in that situation to have like a program, like have a plan, right? Like you have to have a plan. Nobody just gets out on probation. Like, yeah, I'm just going to sit at home. Like I know that much, right?
Correct. 100%. You got to have a plan. I picked the end of my prison term was done in a drug abuse program where they do a lot of these CBT classes, and they had these drug treatment specialists that were the counselors for the program. One of the guys specifically had been there for like 20 years. He had like a doctorate's, master's, he was a very educated guy. And so I would pick his brain. I'm like, hey, so who are the guys that come back and who are the guys that don't come back? And so I spent a lot of time with this guy and got a lot of info, and having a plan, it was number one. So my plan was to, the degree I got in there was for business management, hospitality. My mother and my stepfather, they own a few restaurants here in San Diego. So plan was to come back, work with the restaurants, maybe eventually see where that goes. So I started managing a location. Then I got into operations. I even opened a new location that was a ghost kitchen here in San Diego. However, working with family can be challenging.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Yeah. So it was very stressful. I was given a lot of responsibility, but not the authority that needed to be for certain decisions that needed to be made. And, for me, it was nothing personal. Hey, this is business. This job needs to get done. Like no disrespect, but this needs to happen. And so it was challenging. And then that's actually when I had the meeting with the guy that was a friend of mine that I had met, and was like, hey, people are online doing this. And so, spoke to my mother about it. She was supportive of it. And so I just started it on the side, and it's just morphed into this huge thing already. And so I still help out a little bit with the restaurants. I'm really trying to get away from it. It's hard to kind of separate with family and business, but she's supportive, and she sees all the good things taking place. So I think it'll just be a matter of time before I can completely stop doing work with the restaurants.
Oh, right. All right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So it was that conversation you had with your buddy that was sort of telling you about other people doing this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man, that's really cool. I always love to ask because, there's different ways, man. There are some people that I'll talk to and they're like, man, it's just in my blood. Like, it's just the way I think. You sound similar to me, where it's like, you don't know what you don't know. You're just kind of like going with it. And like, as the opportunity unfolds, you're just continuing down the path. Like, for me, I started a landscape company when I was 19, and it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to, make $1 million. I was literally like, I was going to school, trying to hold down multiple jobs, and I needed something I could do like on my own schedule. And so I was like, I can mow people's lawns. I'll just do that. And that morphed into owning a landscaping company. And then as I grew and grew, I was like, yeah, dude, I could do this. Like, I could see myself like working like this the rest of my life, And so it wasn't like, I was never like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I just kind of went with it. And it sounds like that's a lot of what you've done as well.
100%. Same thing, and it still holds true to this day. It's like the way this thing's going right now. It's like with all the new connections and network I have, I don't know what it's going to morph into. I mean, I got a buddy that's going to back me to open up a gym, start
like
all sorts.
Like a brick and mortar gym.
Yeah. Correct.
Cool.
Like a brick. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many different directions this thing's going in. I mean, I don't know what it's going to morph into. So I just, I'm just playing my part. I'm in the car and I'm letting God drive, man. So I don't know where he's headed, but it'll be somewhere good as long as he's driving the car.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Throughout your entire journey, I hear a lot of being in search for purpose, which totally resonates with me. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners. What did that look like for you? Like coming out of prison, was there like a sense of loss of identity or trying to find identity and looking for?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Had no idea what my purpose was still. I was going to be going into the restaurant business, not something I really wanted to do, but, supporting my family is something that I will do 100%. So didn't really know my purpose. And then, was then venturing on and starting this business that I've started and realizing that I'm able to help other people, that my testimony is so powerful. And it wasn't until maybe 6 months after I started the business and things were already going very well that I actually hit me and realized hey, this is my purpose, so same thing. I'm kind of late to figure things out, but they're already going. And so, yeah, 100%. I agree. It's my purpose today. And, which gives me even more gratitude to be doing what I'm doing. And it just is all the fuel for the fire that I need,
Yeah. Oh man, absolutely. I love that, dude. So it sounds like you took a lot of, or I guess I should say, a lot of your program you developed when you were locked up, and you just kind of took that and you're like, hey man, this program works. It's proved out, and then applied it to your new life. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I just kind of stumbled across it. A lot of guys, there's some guys in prison that will, there can be not a lot to do. So a lot of guys will just create their own routine. And so that's one thing I figured out was okay, I'm in charge of myself. I can do whatever I want. So I can squander this time, or I can really use it to. And so I've came up with just a daily routine, which is a thing I kind of speak a lot with guys that come to me that are suffering with addiction issues, is we focus on today. We don't forecast, worry about the future, causing anxiety, or caught in the rearview mirror, getting depression from past choices. We just focus on today. And so that's what I did in prison, because it's kind of like Groundhog Day. It's just the same day repeated. And so I figured out how to run kind of like a perfect day, what that consisted of. And it took me a few years to really fine tune it and get it dialed in. But eventually I figured out what a perfect day was for me. And then I just copied and pasted that. And so I've just taken basically that routine and applied it here, in the free world, or whatever you want to call it, and just help guys really, because with the way the world is today, I mean, there's so many distractions, there's so much, everything's at our fingertips. So people have really lost a lot of discipline and structure and just basic routine. And so I'll help create that for guys. I'll also then, once I start working with guys, I'm able to see what adjustments they might need. And it's I'll give them a non-negotiable task at that point in time. One of the guys on the team today, he's was a medic in the Army, and I love these guys because they know SOPs. It's just follow protocol. Yeah. And so it's so he put something in his story. He was hey, so he's been getting up super early, going to the gym, taking care of his personal development on his own time, to where it's not, because I don't believe that that should be done at the end of the day when you need to be spending time with your family and doing that. Personal development needs to be done on your own time. So he's getting up early, taking care of business, then going throughout his day. And he had mentioned something that he hadn't been reading his Bible lately. And so I said, okay, Bing, there you go. So I hit him. I said, okay, non-negotiable task number one for you is get up just a half hour earlier and make sure you get in your Bible and then follow protocol. And so he was like, okay, roger that, check. And so he'll now implement that into his schedule. And it just, so the more I work with guys, the more we just keep fine tuning, figuring out what a perfect day looks like. And you string together a bunch of days, and before you know it, you're making so much progress, so.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. One thing that you said that really resonated with me. So I stopped drinking almost just about 3 years ago.
Let's go.
And yeah, dude, man. And really, I realized, I was like, listen, pros and cons, I'm very logical, right? I was like, there's literally not one single benefit, no benefit. So I'm like, well, why am I doing it then? And at that point, literally when I made that realization within myself, I was like, dude, I don't need to drink. And then, full transparency, I realized after the fact I had a problem. Like I had a huge problem. So thank God I did. And I had a really good friend of mine who helped me. He held me accountable. He never missed a Friday for almost 2 years, the entire time checking in with me. Hey dude, how are you doing, man? And if I was struggling, I'd give him a call. And I remember asking him one time, we were just kind of chit chatting, really relaxed, and I was like, hey man, do you think you'll ever drink again? Or, cause he's in his mid 40s, and he's like, Devin, he's like, I heard this thing one time and it's kind of stuck with me, and I'll say it back to you. He said, I honestly don't know. And I can't tell you. He's like, but what I can tell you is that I'm not going to drink today. And so that must be something that he picked up from somebody else. Right. But that's a lot of what I heard in you. And as I think about this, I'm like, dude, you can apply that to business. Because in my opinion, a lot of the battle of business is just not giving up, just not stagnating, just not quitting, just making it another day.
Absolutely. It's in recovery. It's a big thing in recovery, is just for today. And so, I've gone through a lot of, recovery, AA, NA, stuff like that. And so the tools that they have, just like I had mentioned earlier, people, places, and things, that's another cliche that comes from the recovery world. But all these tools that they have in recovery, I had realized, are just tools for life. They apply to everything in life. And so that's a lot of also where I've gathered all of my tools from and have just compiled it into this thing that I got today. So 100%, man, it's today, bro. There is no tomorrow. There's only today.
Dude, I love that. Some of these things that I hear in your program, a minute ago, you were sharing with the way that you run your program, which I love, by the way. Do you also apply some of those things, not just in personal development, but in your business?
Absolutely. 100%. It's my blueprint for life as well. It's exactly what I have guys do. It's the same thing that I do myself. I'm the kind of leader. It's I take ownership for everything as well. There was blessed and fortunate to have guys to be joining my program all the time. And so I have a group chat, for example. When new guys get on, I always, say, hey team, welcome such and such to the team. And so, we'll have guys, welcome them to the team. And so I've got a substantial amount of people in there. And so a new guy got on the team last night, and there was maybe 3 or 4 people that welcomed him to the team. And so I threw a comment out there. I was like, it's a small ask to welcome somebody to the team for a whole group of dudes that are working to be better versions of themselves. You know what I mean? And so I was like, as the leader of the group, I'm going to go ahead and break myself off, which is like a prison term. A break off is like a disciplinary action that's usually a workout routine. And I was like, okay, so as the leader, I'm going to break myself off and do some burpees because this is a reflection of me as a leader, So yeah, that's kind of how I'm not only going to not ask people to do things that I wouldn't do myself, but I'm going to make sure that I take accountability. If there's something I think that needs to be done that is messing up, I'm going to take ownership of that. So
I love that, man. I love that that's part of your program. That's so I've been doing that more recently with my kids. you kind of lead people with different temperaments differently, right? And so I have one that's like, he's very by the book. Like, this kid is not a rule breaker, right? So the way that I lead him is different, but he struggles with other things. And then I have one that's like just tell this kid 100% the opposite of what you want him to do, and then that's what he'll do, right? And so I'm trying to show them through like, hey, they see dad mess up. It's like, okay, all right. And then likewise with them, I make them pay kind of similar. I'm sure it's very similar culture, but like in the military, especially when you're like younger coming up, it's not like good leaders. It's not a ton of yelling and screaming and, empty threats. It's like, hey, dude, get down and push, like, and so I do the same thing with my kids, and myself, kind of like what you're talking about. I'm guessing it's similar to like, break myself off. Right. And man, it's, what I love about it. It took me a while to see. I was like, man, is this doing anything? But it sort of creates a accountability versus like a resentment or a fear, that comes from like yelling and spanking and things like that. And by no means am I perfect, man, but that's my aim. I'm trying that approach.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. You can't lead everybody the same. It has to, each person is different, but I think, a good kind of overlying thing, like you said, is good leaders don't need to like raise their voice or, any of that. It's not necessary. I think, I've pulled a lot of good leadership stuff from Jocko. He's pretty solid. And I think, there's like the kind of, the indirect approach is a really good approach. Sometimes you do need to be direct though, so yeah, I love it, man. Just the dichotomies of leadership are huge. And I think that's just what being a leader is about, is being a servant really at the end of the day.
For me too. And I'm sure that, this will resonate with you, but that's biblical. Jesus calls for temperance in all things over and over and over. And like you said, man, leadership is a dichotomy, but that's where, you strive to find that temperance, man. Like, and then that is at least for me, that is one of the biggest challenges,
For sure. Yeah. Jesus was a gangster, man. He was the original gangster. He was going against the grain, but he was a servant 100%, yeah, very, very biblical. You hit the nail on the head right there.
Dude, I love that. So man, you are thriving right now. You're absolutely crushing it. And from my perspective, I'm not in the coaching space. I'm not in the education space, or I'm not selling information or anything like that. But I got a lot of friends that do. They share a lot of stuff with me. And right now, it seems like a lot of people are struggling, especially in the coaching business. So from your perspective, what are you doing right? Or what things have you tried, as to why like you're crushing it right now?
I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is just being themselves. There's so the market's so saturated. Everybody is looking to see like, oh, this person's successful. I need to do what they're doing, so a lot of people struggle to just be themselves, and which was kind of a good thing about me not being on social media and me just jumping right in and not knowing any better. I just got on and started doing my thing. So like, authenticity is like the highest vibrating frequency. I believe all that stuff, energy. I mean, we feel energy. We technically are balls of energy when it comes down to it. And so, I just keep it authentic, and, there's a lot of times I do stuff that I feel like, oh, I could have done that better, but I send it anyways. I just put it out there. And a lot of the time it just does good. So a lot of time people second guess themselves. They don't want to post stuff, or they want to make sure that the content like looks perfect, like it's got to be a certain type of way. And all that stuff just holds people back. So yeah, it's been working for me. It's been working really well. I'm super grateful. and it just keeps progressing up the ladder in the circles of people that I'm getting around. It's humbling. It's very humbling.
Yeah, absolutely. A minute ago too, you're talking about your community. What are some of the things that maybe you didn't expect to learn that you have learned about, not just being a part of a community, but building a community? I mean, like, you are the leader of your community, right?
For sure. I think some of the lessons I've learned would be, for me, just on my personal journey, the community, that I have is all full of people that are just willing to, not only willing, but are sticking their hand out and helping pull me up, which is a wonderful thing. I believe that if your community you're around isn't doing that, of course you want to be around. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. So it's like, if you want to be in a community where there's people that are above you doing things you want, but if they're not all willing or are helping you out and pulling you up, then it's not the right community. So that was a real lesson that I've learned, and fortunately fell into, or whatever you want to call it, got into this community where everybody's doing that. So it was a lesson learned where I didn't have to suffer. I mean, there's been times throughout this journey so far that, I meet a lot of people, and, then eventually it's like, okay, I may not agree with certain people, or we just are different people. We have different styles, whatever you want to call it. I'm not speaking bad about anybody. It's just different from how I operate. So I've had those lessons learned, but fortunately I'm in this community to where it's just a lot of wonderful people. And so I'll then also replicate that myself within my community. I'm always willing to help guys out, whatever it may be, guys that are struggling. I've got a guy that's just hit his 60-day marker in sobriety, which is pretty much close to like uncharted territory for him. I don't think he's had more than 67 days, but he had been struggling recently. And so I told him, I said, hey, okay, let's get a check-in. Let's get a daily check-in every day. I want you to call me in the afternoon. Let me know how your day's going, et cetera. So I make a lot of time for my guys. That is not exactly of the norm for a lot of people that do what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, daily check-ins. I mean, you're a busy guy. And that's amazing though, that you recognize that. You're like, hey man, this guy is right there. Like, dude, let's push through. Let's move to daily check-ins.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause I've been through it myself. I know what it's like. I've been in a lot of the positions where these guys, these different phases they're going through. And so it's as rewarding as it is to them, as it is to me, because like I've experienced it. So when I see them go through these wins, I'm like, yeah, like I know exactly what it's like. So it's another thing they say in recovery is like, at a certain point in time in your sobriety, like how you maintain your sobriety is you keep what you have by giving it away. And so that's kind of where a lot of old timers are at in sobriety is, by giving back, by sharing is how I feed my recovery as well.
Dude, I love that. That's good. I feel like, again, another similarity with business, to help other people, you gotta have done something, right? Like you're talking about, like, you take a step up, somebody pulls you up, you pull up the next person. So you got to get pulled up first before you can pull up the next person, right? But there's always somebody that's just a couple, one or two steps behind you. And very similarly, like as soon as I started taking steps, I immediately wanted to turn around, and help the next person. And it keeps me sharp on things too, man. And it keeps me filled up. It keeps me alive. That's a lot of why I started this podcast. I was like, man, I just want to talk to people that have different experiences, and like, genuinely learn from them and then go implement the stuff, because anybody who helps anybody else knows, like, that's the biggest thing you want. Like, you just want to see somebody do something with what it is that you're giving them, right? Like, and that's kind of like the worst part is when you're like, somebody asks you for advice or asks you for, your experience or whatever, and you give it and they're just like, oh yeah, it kind of falls on deaf ears. You're like, oh geez, come on. So it's like the greatest compliment is like doing something with it. Right. And so, that's like I was saying, that was a big part of why I even started this podcast. And, it's really, really cool to hear.
Love it. Yeah. Same thing there. I agree with you 100%. And it's, I give people chances, but I only so much, I'm not going to, at this point in time, I've really limited myself just because of how busy I am, that if I, give somebody some tools and they don't implement it, I'm not going to sit around and babysit and do all that other stuff, because I just, I can't make anybody do anything. And then, I got things I'm trying to do myself. So,
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Understandable for sure. So you started out, in construction back in the day, working for your dad's company, and then you're working with your brother in his company, right? Were there any any lessons, business lessons you learned during that time that you were able to really grab from now, like recently, as you're building Unchained Fit? Yeah,
definitely. I think there was quite a few positive lessons learned, the things that you learn just in business, however, I think some of the biggest lessons learned were things not to do.
That's good.
Yeah, big time. I think, one of the lessons I learned, owning the business with my brother was, not living out of one's means. I think my brother really struggled with that. And so that would then get down to where he would make decisions on, paying people with full amounts. He would string people along sometimes. And that was actually literally ended up being the cause of his death. He would owe a worker I think it was $2,000 or something. And, but you can't play. I mean, people work, they have their families they have to provide for, and, they have what they have coming to them, so there was a lot of lessons I've learned of things not to do, which, served me today in my business as well, making sure that everybody's taken care of. Just being a man of my word. So I'd say probably some of the negative things or the things not to do were probably some of the things that stuck the most. I learned a lot business-wise. I'm a pretty quick learner. So a lot of that stuff is just on autopilot, and it doesn't really super categorize. I just take it and implement it. But yeah, it was definitely the hard lessons learned, the things not to do that stuck out the most.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Managing cash. When you have no cash flow, when you're running thin margins, and then on top of that, maybe you're spending business money for personal stuff, right? Dude, yeah, that's a legit lesson. And, those are sometimes, I feel like, at least for me, those are some of the most impactful lessons, when it's I learned what not to do, right? But it's but that's still a lesson.
Oh, that's how I think those are the most, like you said, the most impactful ways that we learn is by making the wrong choice, the wrong decision. That's how we learn the most.
Has there been anything that's on your journey so far, building this coaching company? Has there been anything that's just kind of caught you off guard that you're really man, I didn't expect that one?
A few things. I'm all about getting results. I want guys to have results, and so I've had just maybe one individual in particular who I was working with, and he was, I have different program levels. I have an elite level where I work one-on-one with guys. They get a lot of my one-on-one time. And so this one individual wasn't really implementing just the basic stuff that he needed to do, like tracking his food, his workouts, stuff like that. And it really kind of seemed like it came down to the fact that he was just paying me for me to be his friend. And and so it didn't really sit well with me. I want these guys to be bettering themselves. If you're not bettering yourself, and so it kind of got to the point where it was almost pretty much mutual. Hey, look, I can't really do this anymore, because I'd keep harping on him to do these things. And it was so that was kind of an interesting thing, an experience to have. Then on the flip side of it, I would say really being surprised in it had taken me a little while to kind of find my group, my community, but once I finally found my community, just realizing just what such good people they were, and how supportive they were, and just what a awesome, I'd been kind of a lone wolf for a long time, in my addiction. I was, isolating myself, and then also in the beginning parts of my recovery, and just, making sure that, I'm not getting myself in trouble. I'd been alone for a long time. And it wasn't up until recently, within the last few months, that I've really acquired a solid group of like Christian warriors, man, like guys that are dangerously anointed, man, like guys that are, top tier military guys that are in the EP industry, just some real solid dudes. And so I got like a band of brothers now, man. And it's awesome, bro. It's really, really cool.
I love that. Oh, dude. So cool. So cool. Man, that's good. Well, unrelated question I got for you, but I was kind of thinking about this earlier. How did you track your macros when you're locked up, dude?
Bro,
I saw this post you did, and I was just like, this is nuts, dude. Like, I got MyFitnessPal and I'm struggling. This dude, like, my mind was blown.
Bro, things don't happen quickly in the feds, so it was like, so if you want something, you got to be dedicated. You really got to want it. So it was like, I came across like the math equations from a couple of, like a guy that I knew. And so I got the math equations, whatever you want to call it, on kind of how to figure out like my BMR. So I got that, but then it took me about like 2 or 3 months to obtain the caloric breakdown of basically everything that they would serve out of the chow hall, because that would be the stuff you don't know what what all the breakdown is on everything. So it took me a while to get that sheet. And then that sheet was like gold. So I got my hands on that sheet, and then everything that I would purchase from the commissary, which would be majority of what I ate, because stuff out of the kitchen wasn't that healthy, that had all the numbers on it. So then I just was able to, I got a journal, and I would track everything down every day, all day. And so I actually still have the journal, which is kind of cool. And, it was a process, but it was like, in that drug program towards the end of my, time, we were creating SMART goals. And so that was a SMART goal I had made for myself, was to get under 10% body fat. And so between tracking all my stuff, and one of the benefits about the feds is they did have some like workout machines. They had a bunch of cardio machines, and there was some other things like some resistance bands. I was able to get my hand on a couple of bands. And so I had those in my cell. And so I was able to do a lot of stuff with those. But yeah, so I started, I'd read like Goggins' book. And so I was like really like dialed in, and I would go and just crank out a bunch of time on these exercise machines. Like I started on like the Stairmaster. They had ellipticals, but that was a little too easy. So I started just like, we'd only have like maybe an hour and a half at rec. So I'd go and I started building up on the Stairmaster to where I was running intervals on it. And I would get to where eventually I was running the whole time of our rec yard on the Stairmaster, which was about, burned way over 1,000 calories. Got it to where I was getting like 1,000 calories in like, I think it was like 45 minutes. And so I pushed over to the Jacob's ladder machine, which was like a ladder, on a 45. And so
love me some Jacob's ladder.
Bro. Yeah, and so I started getting it on that thing. And so I got it down to where it was like, I could hit 1,000 calories in like 36 minutes. And I think like the most calories, because I just like got in that frame of mind where I just took the governor off my brain. And I think one time I got to like 1,800 calories within, it was like maybe an hour or something like that, a little over, but I think it was like an hour and 15 or 18 minutes, but it was just something I could play with myself and just really push myself mentally, and just see what I was capable of doing. So, again, that just gets back to running is tough of a program. Like we can do it out here today. We can be as hard on ourselves as we want. Time is time. Another thing I learned from prison is time is, our most valuable asset. And it's like to maximize our time is really everything, Oh,
dude, absolutely. I love it, dude. Such good stuff, man. All right, Anthony. Well, as we wind down here, man, what's on the horizon for you? Like where you taking Unchained Fit, man? And yeah.
Bro, I do not know. I do not know, to be honest. So do have, going to start working on putting together some events, some, in-person events, collaborating with a few guys that I know. I just want to put on some events that kind of can help show men how to be the man their family needs them to be, whether it's, protecting their family, teaching guys about self-defense, all those kind of good things. So putting on some events. I'm going to start writing my book. That's one thing. One of my guys is on me here. So I'll be writing a book. It's getting into a lot of circles, some higher up circles. I mean, it just seems to keep climbing the ladder. I don't really know where it's headed. Like I mentioned earlier, a good close friend of mine who's actually in the stem cell business, the real stem cells. It's out of the States, of course. So they do a lot of work that nobody else is doing. So he's tied in with a lot of celebrities and athletes. So we're talking about opening a gym, maybe starting some other, all sorts of things like clothing line, maybe a supplement company. So I'm not sure where it's headed, but it's continuing to grow. I think one of the biggest things that's helped me be as successful as I am already is I haven't really turned anything down. Anything that kind of comes my way, I'm open to it, and I'll go give it a shot. So, I don't know where it's headed. I'm just going to keep God driving the car. I'm just going to keep doing the Lord's work, and wherever it takes it, man, is fine with me.
That's good, dude. I love it. I love it. What are you most excited for, like right now in this moment?
Most excited for, I'd say just where the business is kind of going with the kind of people I work with. It's really turned into, I'm working with a lot of veterans, a lot of guys that are top tier guys, also a lot of law enforcement, all sorts of, first responders. And I really resonate with a lot of these guys. We share a lot of the same, just, morals, values, and ethics. And a lot of these guys just get it. It's like, things happen in life and we get off track, and sometimes we just need to get back on track. And so they understand it and they get it. And so it's just really like boom, boom, boom. There's no really needing to convince guys, hey, this needs to happen. Like, hey, you have, whatever. So I'm really excited about the direction of guys that I'm working with. I work with everybody, business owners, blue collar guys. I work with everyone, but this core group of guys that I'm starting to have is really awesome. And just the fact that I'm getting into these circles that are really, really big time. I mean, there's movie stars. There's one guy specifically, I'm not going to mention his name, but I'll be going on his podcast. So it's just really just moving up the ladder in these circles that I'm just super humbled and grateful to be playing my part in. So yeah, it's going to be pretty good.
It's growth, baby. I love it, man. I love it, dude.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Anthony, for our listeners, man, where can they connect with you? Check out your program, check out your social media, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Main thing is just on Instagram is my heavy hitter. It's Unchained_fit. Through there's links in my bio. You can get into where you find out program information, all the different programs I offer. But I'm on there. So if anybody reaches out, sends a message, I'll get back to them, and more than happy to go over any kind of details, any kind of questions you got, let you know all the different things that I offer. It'll be tied in. Also, you'll be able to find my YouTube through there, TikTok, stuff like that. But Instagram is where I'm at. So, yeah, don't be shy. Reach out, man. And one thing I'll say is you got to reach out. Biggest part, I think the first thing is reaching out, because, we all have these things going on in our mind. And until we actually take it out of our mind and make it tangible, we can't, it's really hard to address the fact. Like, we all need accountability. Like you mentioned earlier, we all need a mentor or a coach, somebody to help guide us, or just at least call us on our BS. So, I highly encourage everybody to reach out. We all can do better in life. I can do better in life. So just the biggest thing is reaching out, man. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. You owe it to your kids. You owe it to your loved ones. So the biggest thing is just reach out, man. And that's the biggest first step. Once that step comes, the next ones get easier and easier, but you got to take that step.
Love it. Mic drop, man.
Boom.
There you have it, folks. Boom.
Love it, man. Thank you, bro, for having me on. I really appreciate it, man. If there's anything ever I can do, please feel free to reach out, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, Anthony, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being so vulnerable, dude, and dropping all your experience for our listeners or the listeners. Until next time, we'll see you.